as NBA Giraffe T or
Draft.
Oh,
So
giraffe.
like it sounds like draft, but giraffe.
Okay, great. Okay, great. Sup, nerds? It's basketball. Welcome to Horse, a basketball podcast about everything except for the wins and losses. My name is Mike Schubert, and I'm joined by my trusted co-host, the 120 to 128. It's Adam Amwala. Adam, how's it going?
It's really rude, honestly. If you weren't in another hemisphere, I would fight you right now. But Shubes is very kindly referring to the overtime final score of the Bulls-Knicks game last night, where the Knicks apparently turned into the Warriors for the last 5 minutes of the game and just kept hitting threes at a very frustrating clip. I'll have to go back and look at the exact bets we made about those games and the Bulls and Knicks records. But at this point, I'm not feeling overly confident about either situation. I think the Bulls might just blow up the whole team. Things are not looking great in Bulls land.
It's an interesting time for the Bulls where their best plan would be to blow things up, but it's just embarrassing if they do.
Yeah.
In all honesty, they should. Like, they should trade Vooch and DeRozan to the Lakers for those picks and get those very spicy Lakers picks. But they only went all in on this team like 2 years ago. And it's hard because Lonzo Ball being hurt is a major factor in the Bulls being disappointing, but like, all the Lonzo injury reports are just really sad.
And also, if I'm being honest, the Bulls are not a Lonzo Ball away from competing for a championship.
Yeah, it's disappointing. We'll see what happens with the Bulls, and we'll see what happens with the bets. But there is a chance that you are both planning and paying for our cute little date, which will be in play, but I don't want to jinx it yet because we have games ahead of us between our two teams.
Well, the good news is I still have not followed through on our bets from last year. So on that date, you will be wearing a Bulls shirt. So at least I'll feel okay about that.
That's perfect. Oh, that is the perfect time for me to wear that shirt. I really enjoy that. That'll be very good. I'll wear a Bulls shirt on our cute little date. I am concerned for Alex Caruso. I heard he's still sliding out of the arena, though. I heard he's still moving. He hasn't stopped yet.
Oh, come on. Look, Caruso is the kind of guy that you love to have on your team, but if not, you're like, shut up, dude.
No, I really like Caruso. For anyone unaware of the context, for the dagger three of the game, the three-pointer that really put the score out of hand, Jalen Brunson did a really nice move, crossover type dribble to get Alex Caruso on skates, as they say. And he slipped and slided and looked like he was playing Twister, and Jalen Brunson hit a three and then said something probably mean in the direction of him or the Bulls bench or both. I couldn't see exactly what he said because the camera didn't catch it, but I'm sure it wasn't pleasantries.
No, but hey, I mean, if you make somebody fall in an NBA game, my opinion is you're allowed to say whatever you want.
Yeah, if you make somebody fall and then you make the shot after, you kind of have free reign to do anything, short of murder, obviously, but you know, you can do a lot of stuff. So let's get into more basketball discussions. In order to get into these discussions, we have to first progress through sort of a loading area that we like to call the Teal Memorial Locker Room. Teal, steady ground, not sliding indefinitely.
That's good to hear. I'm told Teal is doing great. Can we corroborate that?
I haven't heard any news to the contrary, so would have to assume.
There you go.
You know who else I'm assuming is doing great?
Probably our patrons, and specifically our newest producer-level patron.
Yes, so shout out to our newest producer-level patron, Kia Etherington, who says, quote, "I would like to be shouted out on the podcast as NBA Giraffe, like NBA Draft, but they're tall. So from now going forward, thank you to NBA Giraffe, as well as our existing producer-level patrons, Polly Burge, Kendra Hadley, Salvatore Tessa, Trust the Process, Siobhan Ellsbury, he sells oh no, I messed it up. Siobhan Ellsbury, he sells seashells. Don't go chasing Taco Falls. Bang, bang. Long-suffering Timberwolves fan, Roast Beef Debris, Kay the Conqueror, Basketball is Life 2, Michaela Loves Allison, Denver Steam Nuggets, Anna Borgelli, Weird Questions, Curry in a Hurry for 3.
Bang!
Is that a particular restaurant, or were you just playing with a fun little rhyme scheme?
I believe it is a like Indian fast food place in England, but I could be wrong. Someone can tell us if I'm wrong.
I think it might be, because it sounds familiar, but love it. Curry in a Hurry for 3, Lobster Biscuit, Hi Trish, Ginger Spurs Boy, Nicole Arsenal, Something Mean About the Knicks, Stubby Boardman Gets Paid, and now NBA Giraffe.
Love it.
Love it. You know what else I love?
Being sponsored so we can keep making this fun show.
You love to see that because this show does cost money. So having things that bring in money help us not lose money. So fighting in that good cause to make sure we're not losing money on the show is today's sponsor, which is Shaker and Spoon. Shaker and Spoon is an all-in-one delivery kit service to help you make fancy drinks and look like a fancy person for your friends, even though secretly they do all the hard work for you. All you have to do is supply a bottle of booze, and they give you all the ingredients and the instructions and the recipes to make 4 servings of 3 different drinks that all use that same liquor. It's really nice. You can buy a box depending on the liquor. You can sign up for the monthly subscription service and just see what they send you. And it's honestly very fun. I am not a mixologist by any means, but I have learned to make some cool drinks from Shaker and Spoon. It is super simple. They give you cute little recipe cards that you can keep forever and use in the future. And if you use the promo code HORSE, when you go to shakerandspoon.com/horse, you can get $20 off your first box, which is about 50% off because the boxes are $40 to $50. So use that code, go to shakerandspoon.com/horse, save some money and look fancy for your friends, make some fancy cocktails.
Hell yeah, 50%, a good field goal percentage, also a good discount.
Yes, amazing. Yeah, we'll have to see if there's some sort of like 50, 40, 90 of sponsorship like there is in the NBA. 50% field goals, 40% three-pointers, and 90% free throws is like the pinnacle of shooting. And the Boston Celtics as a team were shooting that earlier in the season, which is just bonkers and shows you how well they've been doing this year.
I wonder what my numbers are as someone who like hasn't really played basketball in 3 months. If I would guess honestly, I would say my field goal percentage would be like 30. Mm-hmm. My free throw percentage, I want to say 70, but it might not even be that good. 3-point percentage, gosh, 20, 15.
Yeah.
Not great.
Yeah. I have some of these numbers because I use that app, Home Court. They're not paying me to say this, but where it tracks your shots and stuff.
Let's talk to Home Court.
I should reach out. But I do know some of my numbers in terms of an open gym where no one is guarding me. But that is very different from actual percentages. I feel like the numbers you threw out are probably accurate for me. Maybe me being a little higher in the 2-point, but a little lower in the 3-point, because that is just not my forte. Free throws? I don't know, because it's been so long since I've played in an official league that actually utilizes free throws.
Yeah.
The last time I was in games that had me actually shoot free throws was when I was in a pickup league in France, and they actually called fouls and had free throws for the fouls, which was just so foreign to me.
Well, whenever you're back in the States, if you ever get another fancy gym membership that has a basketball court, you let me know and we'll go work on our shots together.
Let's see. We'll try to make it happen. Now, speaking of New York, will this episode come out before your big thing or no?
It will come out the day before, yes.
All right. So you want to tell the people, just in case they're listening on a Monday and they're looking for something to do in the very near future.
Sure. Yeah. On the off chance that you are listening to this the day it comes out, tomorrow, Tuesday, December 20th, I will be headlining Stand Up New York here in New York City on the Upper West Side. It's at 78th and Broadway. If you want tickets for that, you can just go to any of my social media things. It's very easy to find, or go to Stand Up New York's website, standupnewyork.com. I also just found out that I will be headlining 2 shows at the Stress Factory in New Brunswick, New Jersey.
Let's go.
On Friday, the 23rd. So if you are in New Jersey, and that's easier for you to get to, come out to the Stress Factory. It is the first place I ever did stand-up. It was at an open mic night in January of 2006. I have literally been doing stand-up like half of my life at this point, which is wild to think about.
Wow. You're at the point, it's kind of like they said this with LeBron. I think LeBron has been in the NBA longer than he has been not in the NBA. So you have been telling jokes to strangers longer than you have not been telling jokes to strangers.
It's true. And LeBron and I equally successful in our fields, which we love to see.
That is true. When you do think of you, the first thing that comes to mind is LeBron. And honestly, the reverse too. People are like, man, LeBron, is he the best basketball player of all time? Well, at least we know who the best stand-up comedian of all time is. It's Adam Wall, obviously.
I mean, I'm the LeBron James of comedy in that I'm lying about that. And that's the most LeBron thing I could do.
Oh, fantastic.
Now, Shubes, I believe your final Australia shows will have already happened by the time people are listening to this, but is there anything else you would like to plug?
I will have a show in America just recently confirmed that on Thursday, February 23rd, I'll be doing a live half Potterless, half the News Olympian show in San Francisco.
Ooh.
Surprisingly, a city I've never performed in, even though I lived there for a good couple of months of my life. So that'll be very fun. You can get tickets at potterlesspodcast.com/live or thenewsolympian.com/live. I post it to both. And then the show that I announced last time that was going to be in March on Shaq's birthday in Washington, D.C., one day after the episode went live where we talked about it, the venue where it was decided that they are closing permanently on January 1st. So I'm assuming they had some sort of Q4 meeting and decided, no, thank you. So we are trying to get it removed and rebooked. It should still be around the same time, like late February or early March, but we have to find a new venue. So pause on that for now. But get ready for a future announcement where hopefully I have good news.
Cool. Now, when you're in San Francisco, will you be making as much money as Carlos Correa or a little bit less?
I think a little bit less. Carlos Correa, a baseball player, glad we got that in.
Ding,
good
ding,
baseball reference. He made quite a lot of money, but look, that's just what's going to happen when you get spurned by my new best friend, or I guess my confirmed best friend staying with us, Aaron Judge. You just got to make a panic move.
I was actually happy for you. I was as much as I love rooting against the Yankees. It's a cool thing for Aaron Judge to stay in New York. I feel like he's going to be a franchise guy, and I'm sure they're already retiring his number as we speak, to the point where in approximately 20 years the Yankees will be playing with either triple-digit numbers or they'll be like 13B because they just retire everyone's numbers.
I like it. I hope we get into wingdings. I hope we get into special characters like when you hit shift on the number row on the keyboard. Number carrot.
Ooh, that could be fun.
Aaron Judge Jr. But yeah, it was really nice for him to return. And we can always talk about this with the Tipping Pitches guys. We'll have to get them back because there's talk of the new basketball CBA having some labor rumblings.
Mm-hmm.
And Bobby and Alex are always very knowledgeable in labor stuff, as we had them earlier on an episode when we talked about past NBA strikes. But Major League Baseball doesn't have a salary cap. So you can literally pay someone as much money as you want to keep them on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have someone that's so important to the team like Aaron Judge, you got to do that. It would be like if the Portland Trailblazers were allowed to give Damian Lillard infinite amount of money to make sure that he stayed with them. And, championship or not, it's just so important to that team for him to just be on the team his entire career. It's never fun when you have an all-time player for a franchise play the final couple of years with someone else. It just always leaves a weird taste in the mouth. So I'm glad Aaron Judge can stay. And I hope that for the NBA, I hope Giannis plays for the Bucks forever, unless he plays for the New York Knicks. Things like that.
That's always the caveat for either of us. Like, I hope this person stays with their team for their whole career, unless he plays for the Bulls or Knicks.
100%. Now, with that complete, we can get into full court press, get it like the news. Normally we would do NBQ&A here, but the whole episode is NBQ&A. So let's first get into full court press, get it like the news.
Let's do it.
All right, there's quite a bit of news. Let's start with a good news version of something that's usually sad news. Brittany Griner released. She's free. She's free from the Russian penal colony.
Yes, and before we discuss the ins and outs of that, can we just agree that that is a good thing?
Yes, it is a good thing. It shouldn't be debated. There are, of course, people on the internet debating this. No, it's a good thing. She shouldn't have been there in the first place. Now she's out. It's very, very good. And she's already dunked a basketball since, which is the perfect response to getting out of an unjust prison sentence is, hello, I am a free woman. I'm going to go dunk.
Yeah, I mean, things looked pretty damn bleak. Like, I believe the last time we spoke about this with an update, it was to tell all of you that Brittany Griner had been moved to a labor camp, essentially. So at that time, it was like, yeah, there's no update. There's no progress. We're told that things are being worked on, but who the hell knows? And for her to be released is obviously a blessing. And I mean, I'm sure the mental trauma from the past year is pretty significant. But thank God she's back.
Yes, there is an article that I saw that we can put on the episode page at hortsoups.com that has photos from her penal colony stay. Doesn't look great.
Yeah,
and I hope that Brittany Griner gets all of the support from family, from friends, from mental health experts, literally anything, because I cannot stress this enough that I can't even imagine going through what she went through for so long and then just being okay.
Yeah.
That sounds like something so hard to come back from. And since this is so recent, it's just happened in the past couple of days, there's no telling if she's going to come back to the WNBA right away.
Can you imagine that first game back if she does, though?
Oh, man, it would be really cool. But whatever it is, I just hope whatever she does is what is best for her and her family and her mental and physical well-being. But all in all, I am just very happy that she's back. And it seems like, at least from the basketball community, everyone is really excited about it. Of course, you're going to have these weird political people that pretend they know everything about this Russian arms dealer that we did the prisoner swap for. But look, she was there unjustly. She shouldn't have been there in the first place. I'm glad she's not there anymore.
Yeah, and I think for me, I'm willing to acknowledge that I just don't know enough about how all of this works to really have an educated opinion about it. So by all means, we'll post links. Feel free to read whatever articles you want, have whatever opinion you want. But again, the baseline here is Brittany Griner is free, and that is a good thing.
Right. And yes, we'll put articles about all of the different aspects of this, but we've covered the aspects we know, which is basketball and being nice to people. Hooray! Now, let's talk about something that is so up Horse's alley. It's right in the wheelhouse of basketball, but not really. They made new versions of the awards that they give out at the end of the year. And some of them are really cool and very funky and have little intricate design elements and stuff. But I'm excited about the new awards. How about you?
Yeah. I'm very excited. I mean, obviously, the one I'm most excited about is that the MVP trophy will now honor Michael Jordan, which, I mean, sure. I think you could put Michael Jordan on any award and make a case for it, probably. But do you want to give us a quick rundown of the other awards that will be doled out?
Yes, I will. And here's a fun fact that I did not know, but I listened to an episode of The Low Post, a very good podcast, about this. So if you listen to the episode that came out a couple days ago, I believe the episode will be titled Goldsberry and Lopez. The first half of the episode, they just talk all about these awards. So if this sounds interesting to you, listen to that episode. We'll link to it, but listen to it because they just go super in depth about it. Do you know who the MVP trophy used to be named for? I didn't even know it was named for a person before this.
I don't think I did. It wasn't Bill Russell, right? Because the finals MVP is Bill Russell, but yeah, I'm not sure.
You are correct. The finals MVP is Bill Russell. The MVP trophy was named after everybody's favorite NBA name, Maurice Podoloff, the league's first commissioner. So you know how we're always talking about Maurice Podoloff and we're all big Podoloff heads. So I think the Podoloff community is really upset that they've rebranded the award to be named after Michael Jordan, arguably the greatest player of all time. But, I guess silent majority, I don't know.
I mean, there were a lot of people who said that Michael Jordan was the Maurice Podoloff of basketball players. And it's hard to argue with it, honestly.
Really hard. So yes, the first one, the NBA MVP, is this cool trophy that is not actually supposed to be modeled after Michael Jordan. You think of Michael Jordan Award, you think it's going to look like the Jumpman, but no, it's just a vague NBA player, but there's lots of nods to Michael Jordan within it. It has like a rougher design at the bottom, but then it becomes more chiseled and more defined as it gets to the top to kind of show a player going from raw potential into a polished player. Mm-hmm. And then at the very top, the trophy is holding a crystal ball, which has 23 points on it, a nod to Michael Jordan's jersey number. And then there's all these little things. The trophy is 23.6 inches high and weighs 23.6 pounds, which is Jordan's jersey number and his number of championships. The base is angled at 15 degrees, which is a nod to his 15-season career. The base has 5 sides, which is a nod to his 5 MVPs. And it has a 6-sided nameplate, which represents his 6 championships. So that's just like the coolest way to be a pentagon or a hexagon, is actually to be a Michael Jordan shape now instead.
Totally. And shout out to the one person who won the MVP during those 6 championship years, Karl Malone, who, just check my notes here, still lost in the finals. Fuck you, Karl Malone.
Yeah, and also fuck you, Karl Malone, for all of the horrible things you did as a human. So I think we just not shout out. Yeah, I think we just not shout him out, actually.
Honestly, we should just end every episode with putting our hands in the middle and yelling, fuck you, Karl Malone. I think that should just be our normal closeout from now on.
Well, I know what we're at least doing in this episode, but I could certainly get behind that. So we've got the Michael Jordan MVP award. Makes complete sense. The next one is what I think is going to be the most annoying award that if I could pay money to never hear about the discussions about this award, I would consider it. It is the Jerry West Trophy, awarded to the, and I like this according to the NBA's official website about this, because Kia sponsors some of the awards. the way that they write this is the Jerry West Trophy awarded to the Kia NBA Clutch Player of the Year.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's unavoidable. We already talked last episode about the Jim Beam, aka Light the Beam. What are you going to do?
It's going to happen for sure, but this is the Clutch Player of the Year award, which is so ambiguous. This feels like a yearbook superlative turned into an award. And what's strange about it is that these particular awards are for the regular season, so they vote on them before the playoffs. And some of the most clutch things happen in the playoffs. Look at Damian Lillard's series-ending shots where he makes a shot and then not just the game is over, but the entire series is over. He's done that twice.
Yeah, but that's always been the case with these awards, is that they end up looking kind of silly because someone can be the MVP of the entire league and then get bounced in the first round. And you're like, well, were they that valuable if their team just lost in the first round of the playoffs? But I guess just to make it an even playing ground, they don't incorporate the playoffs. But I've always thought that's kind of strange.
Yeah, it's hard. For MVP, I can kind of get it because you don't want to make it unfair. If someone truly is amazing and their team just happens to not make the playoffs or not do well in the playoffs, it's not necessarily their fault. But with the clutch player thing, I think the best argument against it was made by Zach Lowe and Kurt Goldsberry on this episode, where they said inherently it would have to be won by a player whose team was just good enough to win some games, but not good enough to be beating teams by a lot.
Right.
Like if you played for the Celtics this year or the Warriors last year where you were just dominating, you're out of contention because your team is too good, even if you are clutch.
Right.
Just if your important shots happen earlier in the game and not late in the game, if it's a really close game, that feels kind of weird. This just feels like an award that should be at the ESPYs and not an official NBA award. Like, are people going to seriously argue about this when they're talking about if people should be in the Hall of Fame or not? Are they going to say, oh, this guy was a 3-time NBA Clutch Player of the Year award winner? Like, it just seems so unserious compared to the others.
Well, whether or not someone is clutch has always been a factor in terms of someone being thought of as a Hall of Fame player, but to actually quantify it in this way feels a little difficult.
Right. It just seems like such a hard thing to quantify, like you said. But the trophy itself is pretty cool. It's like a guy taking a jump shot in the middle of a glass hoop. It does look very cool. So as much as I want to knock the award itself, it looks pretty cool.
I feel like this is setting up a potential 3-on-3 draft for us where we discuss silly trophies, like if they made a flopping trophy or if they made you get where I'm going with this.
I like it a lot. So we'll go quickly through the other ones. The Defensive Player of the Year award has now been renamed after Hakeem Olajuwon. That makes sense. All-time leader in blocks. So good at defense, good dude. So that's pretty fun. The trophy is a defensive stance person inside of a glass hoop, just like the shooter of the Clutch Award. You've also got the Rookie of the Year is now named after Wilt Chamberlain, who had very Wilt Chamberlain-y stats as a rookie. Something absurd, 30 points, 30 rebounds. I don't even know if they tracked blocks at that point yet. It's just a dude holding out 2 basketballs, which is pretty cool. I don't know if that screams rookie, but it does look badass, so we'll take it. And then the Sixth Man of the Year has now been named after John Havlicek, which is an interesting situation in that he is one of the most prolific sixth men, meaning not somebody who starts but comes off the bench and then plays really well. What's interesting is that he played before the Sixth Man of the Year was an actual award, so he's one of the few people to have a trophy named after him who never won the award.
Interesting.
So that's a little interesting, but he does embody it. I am excited for in the future when they rebrand this after Manu Ginobili, who should be the person that they name this after, but it seemed like they were trying to name these after older players, and then maybe they'll get into a policy of rebranding them every 10, 15 years or so.
Yeah, that makes sense, because there have been other pretty prominent sixth men, like Jamal Crawford certainly comes to mind, Lou Williams, people like that, who, I don't know that we need a Lou Williams award.
No.
But I would love some sort of Pat Beverly award of him just crying after winning the play-in game.
Could be pretty good. So this one has them shooting kind of like a running, leaning jumper of sorts. And then the most improved player has been named after George Mikan. This is the only one that you could take issue with because he came into the league very good. Now, George Mikan was an important figure in the NBA and the ABA, actually. He is the guy who introduced the three-point line to the ABA, which the NBA later adopted. George Mikan was the commissioner of the ABA. He's an important person in NBA history, but I wouldn't call him a most improved candidate. Again, this is one that I think could be really fun to rebrand after someone who really did improve a lot over their career and then became an all-time player, but they explicitly weren't naming any of these after current players. And I think they were trying to pick people who haven't been around for a little bit.
Right.
So maybe they'll rebrand that one as well. But those are the new awards. They all look really cool. And we can put a link to them on the episode page of horrorhoops.com.
Cool.
Yeah. Final full court press thing. We have some beef in the NBA, which is always good for Horse. The beef now is between the New Orleans Pelicans and the Phoenix Suns, who have had quite a few games already. I think they will play all 4 of their games before Christmas, which is just a very interesting scheduling situation. But they had some heated exchanges in a recent game because there was a game between the two of them. The Pelicans were winning by like 7 points with just over 24 seconds left. So you have the situation where they could dribble out the ball and, take the turnover on purpose. But in a previous game between these two teams, the Suns played all the way till the final buzzer, doing the thing where you foul people and all of that. So Larry Nance Jr. said, okay, I'm going to play it safe and make a layup, even though we're up by 7 points. Made the layup, they go up by 9. And then Chris Paul gets the ball. And then rather than just let it go out, he fully embraces his Chris Paulness and he tries to go in, tries to get fouled to get like an and one layup. He flops, he doesn't make it. Then Zion gets the basketball and he's got it with about 5 seconds left. And they're at the home court in New Orleans and Zion does a really cool 360 windmill type thing. And the building erupts and then the game ends. And then the Suns got all mad at the Pelicans for showboating, blah, 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 which I think is foolish. If you're playing till the final buzzer, we're playing till the final buzzer, and we're at home, and those dunks are cool. Let's do cool dunks.
Yeah, I mean, Zion continues to just feel impossible. Like the size that he's like a defensive end, and he's doing 360 windmills where he's jumping 40 inches. Like his body and attributes do not make physical sense. But then Brandon Ingram's Instagram story got pretty spicy.
Oh, I didn't see this.
Taking some shots. Yeah, it was. We'll find some screenshots. I'm sure they exist somewhere. But like saying that he had some choice words for the Phoenix Suns.
Okay. I do know that people were calling out Cam Johnson because after the game, Cam Johnson on the Suns said, "We play the right way." And then they showed a clip from the previous playoffs where the Suns were up by 30 and Cam Johnson threw a lob to Bismack Biyombo in a playoff game against the Mavericks to kind of do the same sort of thing of celebrate for the home crowd. And then Chris Paul was the main instigator in the fight. Him and Jose Alvarado have a huge beef, which is very funny because they're just the same person and they hate each other. It's so good. They're the same person. They despise each other. They're both very annoying basketball players.
Yeah.
Ultimate love to have on your team, hate to have on the other team guys. And Jose Alvarado will not refer to Chris Paul by name. He only calls him that player. Oh, it's so petty and stupid and I love it.
I'm kind of into it, honestly. Beefs are fun.
They're really fun, and I'm upset that all these games are in such a short, condensed amount of time, but weirdly, I think it is contributing in a positive way towards establishing the weird rivalry between the New Orleans Pelicans and the Phoenix Suns.
Right.
And I would hope that next season, now that this has been established as these two teams don't like each other, gosh, I hope they play each other in the playoffs. That these two teams don't like each other. Maybe they'll evenly space the games, maybe even put the two of them as a Christmas game because the NBA likes to put rivalries on Christmas games.
Sure.
Could be really fun. Could be really good.
Yeah, and that's something that we've talked about a little bit, I think, even before the season, where, as it pertains to our teams, there was that kind of weird scheduling oddity where the Bulls played the Knicks last night. Then they will immediately play each other again in Chicago, I believe, like tomorrow or the next day. And then the Bulls play the Knicks here at the Garden next week. So they play all 3 games the whole season within like a week and a half period, which in some ways is kind of annoying, especially because you and I can't go to a game. But also, I do think that the positive side of that, to your point, is that it contributes to there being more opportunity for rivalries or beefs in the same way that, like in baseball, when you go play 3 games against someone for a weekend, if things get a little chippy or people get hit by pitches in the first 2 games, by that Sunday when the series is ending, things can really escalate to a point where it feels super stressful and there's a lot at stake and all of that. So I think in that way, it was initially done for travel purposes, just to make the travel that much easier for teams. But I think it could contribute to the rivalries getting a little more heated. It's just you hope that it doesn't cool off by the time they see each other again 4 months from now.
Right. Maybe they do something where you play 2 games in close succession and then you play the 3rd or the 4th, depending on how the scheduling works out, a little bit later in the year to open the door for that. And also because, yeah, if you're out of town for 2 weeks or something. Let's just say hypothetically you're in Australia, New Zealand for, the first couple of months of the season and you don't get to go to some of the key games you want to see.
Right.
It's unfortunate if you have to miss those.
It is.
But that concludes Full Court Press, Get It Like the News. And now, for the remainder of the episode, we can get into NB Q&A. It's the most wonderful time of the year. I guess this is our closest episode to Christmas / all the other holidays coming around. So
yeah, this will be our final episode of the year.
Yeah, so happy holidays to everyone. Happy New Year. Here is your all-encompassing holiday / New Year gift. We are going to answer your questions that you have about basketball and basketball-related things until we run out of time.
Yeah, and we got some great submissions. Thank you so much to everybody on Twitter and Instagram who reached out. Keep in mind that if your question is not answered in this particular episode, we do have them all archived somewhere. We will do probably at least a few of these episodes every year, so keep the questions coming. We will do our best to get to them, but I guess should we go ahead and get started?
Let's do it. Hit me with the first question.
All right, so this one might take up a pretty big chunk of time, but I thought it was really fun. This is a submission from Aaron. I'm just going to say Aaron's first name. Subject says, hypothetical basketball league. The message says, hey guys, I wanted to expand on an idea that you guys came up with a few weeks ago on your show when you were coming up with new cities that need basketball teams. I sat down and came up with 16 cities that do not have, for the most part, any professional sports teams and found a fun name for their team. I was wondering what you guys thought about the chances of any of these teams becoming real franchises someday, although probably with different names. Anyway, here's my list. I did a little bit of research about each city, so the nickname at least somewhat makes sense. So let's get into it. All right. Aaron's idea, this is the Southern League. It's divided into Southern and Northern League. In the Southern League, we have the Austin Weird. I love that.
That's good. That's a really strong contender where if Austin actually had a basketball team, they might do that.
Yeah. It's in the city motto, keep Austin weird, something to that effect. So Austin Weird, a big fan. Then we have the El Paso Sun City, which is a city nickname, which I feel like it might be too similar to the Suns.
Right.
But I mean, El Paso Sun City, I guess there's something to work with there.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. A little similar to the Suns and the sun of the WNBA.
Exactly. Then we have the Albuquerque Pueblo, honoring the indigenous people's homeland. I think that's cool, especially because like so many times in basketball, you see that like this is our house sort of thing. So I feel like Pueblo, to my knowledge, means house or like home. I feel like to do some sort of spin on that could be fun.
That would be really, really fun. Yeah, it could be cool to have culture really ingrained into a team as opposed to what we see in at least older teams, usually in other sports where you just have weird, yikesy teams like misappropriating, indigenous heritage or whatever.
100%. This next one I really like a lot, and I feel like the uniforms could be super fun. The Fresno Vines, because it's wine country.
It's really good. It's really good.
I like that. I feel like there's a lot of fun stuff. You could do the uniforms could be purple, or you could do like one that's more like a Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc color for the home uniforms would be like a cream, and then red would be the road.
Oh, you could have rosé nights where they wear pink.
Oh, God. I think that's my favorite one so far. All right, moving on, really we have the Tucson Optics, because apparently there are lots of telescopes and optical science places in Tucson. It's a bit of a stretch.
It feels like
I don't know if I'm riding with the optics here. I don't love the optics of that. Let's go ahead to the next one, the Tulsa Deco. I guess there's lots of Art Deco style buildings and homes. Now, I don't necessarily associate Tulsa with Deco or anything. I actually more associate Chicago with like Art Deco style, but I do think because Art Deco is a very cool and distinct style, and I'm sure Kelly could speak to this given the architectural background, it would be really cool for uniform and even like stadium construction, like if they made it look that style.
Right. Kelly would be all about this. Loves the Art Deco stuff in terms of design, has some Art Deco style clothing. It's a good look.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could fully name a team after it, but it is something I would love to see a team embrace, is more of that classic sort of style. And I don't know if any teams in the NBA make sense for it. I was really sad that the Cleveland Guardians didn't go for that in the MLB, because the Guardians in Cleveland are those big old school statues in the Art Deco style that kind of look like the ones that are at the Hoover Dam that are also in that style. It would have been cool if they went all in on that sort of branding. So to see a team do that, like the Knicks could do that, even if they wanted to have for one of the city jerseys, maybe they do a Chrysler Building themed jersey, and they could make it all look like that and have New York in that same old school Broadway looking font that's on the Chrysler Building. It could be a really fun look.
Well, if we keep doing these city edition jerseys, they're going to have to get creative because there's only so many things.
Right.
Like, are we like 15 years away from there being like a Port Authority jersey? It's just covered in dirt and rats. Yeah. All right, let's move on to the Boise Snakes. Snakes always a good time. I guess Boise is near the Snake River, and the indigenous people in that area call it that. I don't know if that means like they call Boise Snake River or some sort of term for that. But I mean, snakes are fun. Snakes are intimidating. It does remind me of one of my favorite Onion articles about the Arizona Diamondbacks giving away free rattlesnakes as a promotion and it going horribly wrong. It's some sort of headline that's like 3,428 people die when free rattlesnake promotion goes horribly wrong at Diamondbacks games.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, there's no snake team in the NBA, so I dig it.
I hate snakes. All right, that was a Home Alone reference. Reno Truckers. Actually, it wasn't a Home Alone reference. I'm confusing my references. That was an Indiana Jones reference, but also there's a guy called Snakes in Home Alone. My worlds are colliding. I'm getting very confused.
Let's go.
Then we have this is the final team in the Southern League, the Reno Truckers. I guess Reno is part of the Truckee Valley. I don't know if that actually refers to trucks, but either way, Reno Truckers could be a lot of fun. A lot of their merch could be trucker hats. I mean, I'm into it.
Toot toot.
Toot toot indeed. All right, let's real quick go through the Northern League so we can get on to some of the other questions that we have because we have so many good ones. We have the Louisville River Boxers, which I guess is something that pertains to Muhammad Ali and also the Ohio River. River Boxers sounds very much like a minor league baseball team, but it is kind of fun.
100%. 100%.
Then the Colorado Springs Mountaineers, that's a fun one. Virginia Beach Crabs. I mean, if that doesn't sound like a minor league baseball team, what does? That's classic.
I think it is probably the Virginia Beach Crabs, but I also do enjoy the Virginia Beach Crabs.
Yeah, why did I read it that way? That's so funny. The Virginia Beach Crabs or the Virginia Beach Crabs. Either way, put whatever emphasis you want on whatever syllables you're in the mood for. Then we have the Aurora Sunrise, which is part of the city nickname. I don't know which Aurora that is. There's an Aurora in like almost every, in the way that in The Simpsons, Springfield it's like a running joke that we don't know what Springfield it is because there's a Springfield in every state.
Right.
I was born in Aurora, Illinois. I don't know if that's the Aurora this refers to, but Aurora Sunrise, Winston-Salem Dashes because of the dash in the name. I never would have thought a hyphen would be honored, but hey, why not? Then we have the Lincoln Homestead because homesteading was what built the area back in the day. I don't even know what homesteading means if I'm being completely honest with you. Do you know what that means?
Nah.
All right, we'll say it works. The Des Moines Presidents, because it's a very important primary in presidential races, that could be fun to have kind of like a political theme. Although I feel like every Washington team has some version of that, and it does get kind of dull.
Yeah.
And then this is a fun one, the Madison 77ers, because the city is 77 square miles and people love to bring it up. Plus the 76ers spoof was just too good. 77ers is fun. And I believe in the G League, there are a few teams that are like that, like the, 96ers or whatever it is. But in any case, a huge shout out to Aaron for the creativity there. I felt it deserved to be talked about on the show and commended. We are happy that you enjoy the show. Kudos to you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on. This is from a listener of ours named Jordan. The subject says, Father-Son Sports. This is a very wholesome question. The message says, I've never been the biggest basketball fan, but I do definitely enjoy it. My dad named me Jordan because he loves the Bulls, and in turn, I do as well. I'm just as interested. Any suggestions on ways to talk to my dad and talk about the stuff he really loves? Thanks, guys. I mean, I don't know that I have any specific advice, but I think in general, with your family members, with your friends, people really appreciate it when you take an interest in the things that they take interest in. And that doesn't mean becoming obsessed with basketball or becoming obsessed with Michael Jordan or the Bulls. But I think that would be my kind of overarching advice is to, make an effort to take an interest or understand why someone else has an interest in what they're interested in. What about you?
I think that's the big thing, understanding why they have the interest.
Right.
Wanting to know, why do you like this team? Why do you like this player? Why do you like this thing? Even if we're talking about not sports, trying to get at the core of why someone likes things can help you understand their love for it. And then you can gain more of an appreciation for it. And honestly, a great way to do it. Kelly and I, on this trip where we've been in Australia, New Zealand, we've done a lot of hiking, tons of gorgeous hikes here in the South Island of New Zealand and in the North Island as well. We have just had extended periods of time of just walking and talking and being in nature. And something we've been doing is just asking each other to either tell stories about stuff that we like or just kind of like recapping plots of things. So like Kelly was recapping the plots of the Lord of the Rings movies, which she is super into. And I'm not as big on, not that I dislike them, but just not nearly to the level of fandom that she is. And then on the flip side, I was recapping the plots of some of my favorite video games and stuff. And it's just interesting to have someone tell you the story of something they really like. So
Yeah.
you could have them, tell the story of their particular fandom with the team, or just, if it, like the Bulls, for this example, you could just be like, what was going on with the 90s Bulls? And then you could just kind of do your best recreation of the Last Dance documentary.
Right. And that's one of the things that's so cool about when you take the time to be interested in what someone else cares about is you can see them light up, right? Like if you were to ask me about the Bulls or ask me about, oh, what was it like going to the World Series in 2016? Like you would see physical change in how I'm talking to you because of how much I care about it. And I think in turn, on the other side of this, I hope that your dad also takes interest in the things that you're interested in, right? It should be a give and take there. It should be reciprocated. But I thought that was a really nice question, and hopefully that answered it for you. This next question is particularly relevant because you are currently in Australia, and this question is from a person named Clinton. The message says, "Good day from G''DAY, g'day from wintry Melbourne, Australia. The subject is Lauren Jackson, and the question is, knowing Mike's love for the Seattle Storm, did you know that former 3-time MVP and 2-time WNBA champion Lauren Jackson has made a comeback after 6 years? She played in the NBL 1, like the G League to the NBA, and averaged 32.6 points and 11.6 rebounds a game. She was so dominant that she's now been added to the Australian squad for the upcoming World Championships." Now, again, some of these questions are a bit older, so do you know about all of this? Is there any additional context or answers you can give?
So I do know about this. She's one of the greatest players in Seattle Storm history. I never saw her play because my Storm fandom came later once I started living in Seattle. But this is definitely an old email because she was added to that roster. And then the Australian team ended up getting the bronze medal at the World Basketball Championships, which they had in Australia. And I think that they were in Melbourne like just after I arrived, but I spent the first portion of my trip in Sydney, so I wasn't able to attend any of the games. But yeah, it was their first time medaling, and they did it in Australia. And to have Lauren Jackson be a major component of the team.
Talk about meddling adults. You know what I mean?
Season 4 coming back soon. So it was really cool for that to have happened. Just like you couldn't write a better story type of thing. And I very much look forward to the documentary that I hope they make about this comeback and victory, because it's just cool for her. It's cool for the country. It's just cool all around.
Super cool. Super cool. All right. Well, moving on. This next message is from someone named Katie, and the subject says, "Just someone trying to understand basketball." And honestly, that's like what this whole show is. So we had to answer this one. Message says, "Good morning, Adam and Mike. I love the show, but I've always been a bit confused on the ABA and NBA. I know the ABA was the flashy one and the NBA was the hardcore one, but could you possibly explain more about it? Like what teams were which, how it was in the first few years of the merge? Did people not like it? How did the owners feel? How did the players feel about it? I'm just excited and curious about the history of the game. Thank you for all the basketball fun, Katie." Thank you for listening, Katie. Do you want to field this one? How much do you know about the ABA and NBA merger? I'm sure we've covered it to some extent on Horse before.
Yeah, I feel like we've done segments that have covered it, but I don't know if we've ever done a dedicated full that actually happened about here is the ABA and here's what it was. So I'm not 100% brushed up on it, and I'll have to look back on our old episodes. We've done so many at this point that I have forgotten what some of them were even about. Whoa. But I believe the ABA was, as recapped by our question asker, Katie here, it was very much more of the fun, exciting league. And a lot of the cool things that came into the NBA came from the ABA, where things like the three-point line and the All-Star game were in the ABA and then got adopted by the NBA. The basic history of it is certainly in American sports around this time period, you would have some sort of major league, like the primary one that was more established, but then other smaller leagues would kind of pop up, and then either they would get merged into it or they would fizzle out or whatever. So the NBA was definitely the more predominant league, but it certainly wasn't as popular as other sports going around in America at the time, like baseball. And I know that they had issues in the NBA with money. TV deal stuff wasn't all there yet. And the ABA was just like the more exciting upstart league. And the NBA kind of bought them out. And I'm sure there was some like nefariousness in there, but it was kind of a merge, but almost like a forced merge where the ABA was gonna kind of go out of business because the NBA was just dominating the market share. So then they
Right.
turned it into a merge. And I know the NBA did some cooler things in terms of, I think like players were getting paid better. Like it seems like they had things a bit more right in the ABA. The NBA was just kind of like the establishment sort of league. So merging the teams into the NBA made more sense. But thankfully things were adopted. I think we should at some point do like a deep dive into how it all worked. I know we've touched on it here and there, but it's certainly an interesting history. And there's a lot to learn there. I'm glad that the NBA is starting to embrace ABA stuff more and more, like bringing in their statistics into some of the official record keeping and trying to pay homage to just the history of basketball, which they've always done in the Basketball Hall of Fame. It's not the NBA Hall of Fame. It is the Basketball Hall of Fame. So that's very cool. But to see the NBA embrace more ABA stuff as they look back towards their history is really nice and good to see.
Yeah, totally. And it's interesting because I think if you were to go back in time when the ABA and NBA were happening simultaneously, you probably could have made the case that the ABA would be the better suited to survive because of how interesting it was. And it's easy to forget now, given the state of the NBA and how successful it is, that the NBA did not really do that well until, I don't know, the late 80s, early 90s. Like, I feel like it wasn't until kind of the flashy Lakers and Celtics teams of the 80s, and then, of course, Michael Jordan coming into the league in the 90s, that really made the NBA the stronghold that it is as one of the major sports. But I think until 30, 40 years ago, it was not really looked at that way. It was like very clearly baseball, very clearly American football, and then the NBA was kind of this like fledgling league. So yeah, I think a deep dive on that at some point would be very interesting. Now, this next question, this message comes from a listener named Gwyneth. The subject line says, I need your help. I'll read the cliff notes of it, but hopefully you know the answer to this. I write to you today because I am plagued, all caps, by a memory of Mike recounting how he was pleased because someone important said there are only 2 basketball podcasts worth listening to, Horse and something else. I need your help. What was the other podcast? I ask because 1, I love podcasts. 2, this person clearly has good taste in them. So 3, I would love to give this new podcast a gander and see if it is for me. So in the interest of promoting other podcasts, to be the nice magnanimous boys that we are, do you remember what that other podcast was? And do you know what Gwyneth is referencing?
Yes. So this is something that was said very early into Horse's existence. Soon after we launched, Jeffrey Craner, who is one of the creators of Welcome to Night Vale, a very, very, very successful podcast. He, who has been on the show in the past, he did our thing where he readjusted all of the team nicknames so that they made sense. So like the Brooklyn Warriors and stuff like that, moving all of the existing NBA teams' names around, which we got to do for the WNBA at some point soon. He, unprompted at a podcasting convention, someone asked him about podcasts to listen to, and he said something about basketball because he's a big Dallas Mavericks fan. He said he likes listening to basketball podcasts, and there's only 2 basketball podcasts worth listening to, Horse and 30 for 30, which is the one by ESPN, which is a very, very well done podcast series. We've had Jody Avirgan on the podcast in the past to talk about it. So it was a very nice thing that Jeffrey Craner said, and it has been proudly displayed on the homepage of horsehoops.com ever since he said it.
Very cool.
When you go to horsehoops.com, you can see a little thing that says there's only 2 basketball podcasts worth listening to, Horse and 30 for 30. So the other one is 30 for 30. It's really good. And they did recently just start, I think they're still in the middle of it, but they have a new series going on right now called Pink Card. And Pink Card, though it's not about basketball, it does sound very interesting. This is just the blurb from the trailer. It says, in Iran, women are banned from soccer stadiums. Some dared to defy that. From 30 for 30 podcasts, Pink Card tells a story of Iranian women fighting for their rights across 3 generations. So it's not just basketball that 30 for 30 does. A lot of their stuff is about basketball. They've done things about the Donald Sterling debacle and other basketball things. They did a audio component of that street ball documentary that was on Netflix, I think, or at least ESPN stuff. So they do a lot of good stuff, basketball or not. Again, they're not paying us to say it, but 30 for 30 is very good. But I think Horse is better.
I think you're probably right. But also, before we move on to the next question, Gwyneth has a piece of shrewd advice for you, and I hope you listen to it. Gwyneth also says, I would like to take this opportunity to say that I follow you both on Instagram, and I would like to encourage Mike to follow his instincts to wear more turtlenecks. You wear them well.
Thank you. I have noticed that I do look good in them, and since getting them as a Christmas gift from Kelly last Christmas. I have worn them at any opportunity I can. So I wore it on our trip to Italy, wore it at a wedding, wore it on stage at LeakyCon recently, and I thank you for this compliment, Gwyneth. And for anyone, just a little like pro life hack, if you are going to a wedding and it's going to be a little chillier and you're wearing a suit type situation, a key cheat is that you can wear a turtleneck and a suit and everyone thinks that you're dressed fancier than a shirt and tie or a button-down shirt or whatever, and you're way more comfortable. And if you're outdoors, like the wedding that I wore to, it was outside in March in San Francisco, so it was cold. So I was warmer, I was more comfortable, and people are like, oh, the turtleneck, you're so fancy. Cheat code, it's way easier to wear a turtleneck than it is to wear a button-down shirt. Way less scratchy, way more comfortable, way softer. So I highly recommend picking up a turtleneck. I have a nice thin merino wool one. Honestly, wasn't that expensive, which I was floored by. And I just got two from the same company, one in a light cream color, one in a darker burgundy maroonish color. And it's kind of a thinner one, so it doesn't get too hot. Really comfy, and people think you're fancy. It's basically cheating, and they look great.
I have to tell you, I think I see a turtleneck specific sponsor in our future.
I should reach out. I think the one that I got mine from was called True Merino. So I'll have to reach out to True Merino so that I can turn this, they're not paying me to say this, into a, they're paying us to say this. Check them out, especially if you're looking for a quick holiday gift. They had like a Christmas sale going on, and Kelly got me two heavily discounted turtlenecks that I very much enjoy.
Very nice. All right. Well, let's get through a few more questions. This one actually pertains to something we were talking about earlier. Lauren from Twitter asks, hello, my question for you, is Damian Lillard being Suga's favorite player a good or a bad thing? Do we like Dame and or the Trailblazers? Please explain your answer. Lauren, I have a follow-up question for you. Who the hell is Suga? And
I got you.
Please explain. Yeah, what's up?
Suga is a member of BTS. He's one of the rappers in K-pop group BTS. He is my favorite rapper of the three rappers in the group. He also does some solo stuff, and he has this song called De Chata that's really good, and I'll just link to that. It's got a really cool music video. He's a very, very talented person, and he loves basketball. And yeah, he's tight with Damian Lillard now, which is really cool. They've done some cross-promotional type stuff between the Blazers and BTS fans army. So it's a very good thing because Damian Lillard is a good player. Damian Lillard is a nice person. He's a cool dude. It's a cool player for Suga to have him as his favorite player. It's a wise choice. There's no sort of like bad Damian Lillard stories that I know of. Just seems like a really nice, genuine dude.
No. And also it makes sense that they're friends because Damian Lillard, a very good rapper.
Exactly. I think that might have led to the admiration. If they team up for a song, that could be very, very cool. So yes, it's a good thing. And if you want to root for the Blazers because of that, go for it. Or you can just like Dame. No shame in just liking an individual player and not necessarily the whole team. But I think it's a very good thing.
Yeah.
And if they did more crossover type stuff, could be really cool. Whether that's Suga doing a halftime show at a Blazers game, or Dame and Suga doing a song together, or even just some sort of like fun YouTube video where they meet and either both play basketball or they meet and they like do music stuff, or like a home and away. Maybe Suga goes to Portland and plays one-on-one. Dame flies to Korea. They make a song together. Could be super cool.
Hey, no shame in the Dame. But to be very clear, Lauren, this has always, and I believe will remain, a staunchly pro-Dame podcast.
Yes, yes. And Kelly has just texted me because she's in the same hotel room and can hear me recording this. She says, quote, I would go to that game.
Damn right. All right.
Dame right.
Dame right indeed. All right. All right. We are now at the point where we're winding down on this NBQ&A. And again, if your question was not answered, do not despair. It will be archived. We will answer them at some other point. But at this time, I'm going to prioritize questions that are most timely. So let's do a few more here. All right. Brett from Twitter asks, in honor of the World Cup, if you could field a starting 11 using NBA players, who would you start and at which position? For example, Steven Adams as defense, LeBron in the midfield, etc. So you know a lot more about soccer, or I'll call it football in this particular case, than I do. Are there any players who come to mind? And before you answer that question, France or Argentina?
I am going to give the nod to France. I lived in France for 6 months, so I feel some allegiance there. But if Argentina does win, I won't be sad because in the whole Messi versus Ronaldo debate, I've always taken the Messi side. So it's kind of a win-win for this. I was really pulling for Croatia, Morocco. That would have been way cooler. But alas.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I guess we'll get to see it in the runner-up game.
Do they do that in the World? Oh, yeah. Do they do that in the World Cup? It's not just the Olympics?
Yeah, they play on Saturday.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's like the third place game, so Morocco plays Croatia.
Well, that's fun. That's the one that I'm more interested in. But as far as fielding a team, I feel like Giannis is the best choice for goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Very tall, very long limbs, very agile, can dive in front. That feels like...
Not Gobert?
No, Gobert's just not... He's very good at defense, but I feel like you have to be very like laterally quick, which is certainly Giannis's deal, but not Mr. Gobert's. He's just tall and vertically talented in that regard.
Yeah. So is LeBron a striker?
I feel like LeBron could be a midfielder because he's very versatile, play a little defense, play a little offense, and midfielders are good with passing and setting up teammates, and LeBron has always been good in terms of passing and assists and stuff like that.
Right.
I would put him in the midfield. Defenders, people who come to mind would be obviously Draymond Green, especially because I think trash talk and commanding the defense is something that's really good.
Pat Bev would definitely get so many yellow and red cards.
Pat Bev, I think, would have to be specifically someone who gets subbed in just at the end of the game to kind of instigate and
just
stuff.
to antagonize.
Yeah, like he comes in just for the last 5 minutes and then is just annoying while everyone else is really tired. Like he hasn't played at all, but he's running around being really, really annoying. And yeah, he comes in with 5 minutes left and gets 2 yellow cards and red carded out of there in 30 seconds. But yeah, I think Draymond Green as a defender would be cool. You aren't really fast folks at the front of the attack, so I think your forwards could be guys like Steph Curry, John Wall, Trae Young, because you only have to be good at offense, not necessarily defense, so he feels really well suited for that. I feel like Luka Doncic could be a good midfielder as well, just he's very crafty, can make shots, can make really good passes as well. Nikola Jokic could be a really interesting midfielder as well, because when I lived in France, I went to a lot of PSG games. Paris Saint-Germain is the primary team in Paris, and they had this dude on their team who I loved even before I moved just from playing FIFA. This guy Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Oh,
He's just this huge dude. He's like 6'4" or 6'5", which in soccer terms, he might as well be 12 feet tall. Like he's so much bigger than everybody else. And at this stage in his career, he was a little bit slower, but he was still kind of in that midfield forward point of attack thing. And even though he wasn't as fast as everybody, he would just set these guys up with incredible passes or really good headers. And to see Jokic, who's so good with these crafty passes, I think he could be a really interesting, unconventional offensive player like Zlatan was, because he was just big and not necessarily quick like your normal forwards are. But man, the passes that this dude would do were unreal.
Well, and we need some sort of Messi type player, which means a very small person who's great at scoring. So I guess just to make you happy, I'll go with Trae Young. Does that work for you?
You know, it's fine. The Hawks are like not good, so I'm just like not worried about it anymore. I'm just focused on my one game above 500 New York Knicks.
Hey, it's better than the Bulls. All right, we only have time for a couple more, so let's get to this next one. This I thought was very funny. So this is someone I feel like we both interact with on Twitter quite a bit. The Twitter handle is @CensorCelled, aka I'm not sure how to pronounce the first name. It's Senan? Is it Senan?
This is a good time for me to admit that I have interacted with CensorCelled a lot across various social media. And I've always like stopped just short of ever saying anything besides the username, because I don't know if it's Sanan or Shanan or Senan.
Yeah, let us know how to say your name. But here's the more important part. I'm burying the lead here. This person's last name is Dolan, and they ask, as a Dolan, it's very upsetting that every time I hear the name on the pod, it's in a bad way. Assuming there's nothing good about that guy, there's not. Has there ever been a notable Dolan involved with the NBA in a good way? I don't think so.
I don't know of any.
I can't recall any other Dolans. I'm trying to think of the closest name that I can think of that sounds like Dolan. I don't know. Chris Duhan?
Ooh.
He wasn't Irish.
No.
I don't know.
Jerry Sloan has at least some of the same letters if you kind of word jumbled it.
That's true.
I'm trying to unfortunately, Dolan is kind of close to like Donald, but Donald Sterling is quite bad, and I can't think of any other NBA Donald.
Yeah, actually worse.
Yeah.
So I don't know that we'll be able to help here.
Unfortunately, I don't know that we can help, but what's good is that Jim Dolan from the Knicks ownership group, the best thing that he's done recently is just kind of taken a step back from the team, and he's kind of fading away. So we're not having as much Jim Dolan discourse. So at the very least, things I think are trending upward for the Dolan namesake, in that James Dolan's involvement in the NBA is going down.
Right.
Now, let's hope that a rookie comes through with the last name Dolan and just tears it up.
I hope
just
so.
Really blazes a new trail for the Dolan namesake.
All right, we're going to do 2 more questions. One is pertaining to a particular situation in the NBA, and the question is from Nat on Twitter, and it says, do you guys think Kyle Kuzma will actually get traded since he's been in the rumor mill so much? If so, where do you think he's the best fit, or where would you want to see him play?
What's funny is the best fit is probably in Los Angeles for the Lakers, where he used to play.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I don't see that trade necessarily happening. I don't know if he's actually going to get traded because the Wizards do this weird thing where they don't make necessarily the smartest moves, where you either go all in or go for a tank situation. And I know that they really like him as a player. He has embraced the city. I think he's just going to stick around, and I think that's fine.
Right.
As long as the Wizards don't care with being in contention truly, they'll be good enough to make the playoffs, and maybe that's all they really care about. But he seems to enjoy the city. They've embraced him. He's embraced them. I think it would come down to if a really good offer came their way. But my instinct is that he just stays. I mean, he loves fashion. They have the pink jerseys this year. Why would you leave?
It's true. He loves wearing the biggest sweaters known to man. I mean, why would he leave? Not that he couldn't wear those sweaters anywhere else, but all right, what do you think? Should we do one final question?
Let's do one final question.
All right, this one is fun. I don't really have an answer to it, and obviously you and I are both somewhat biased in terms of our own teams, but Shannon asks, what team has the best IG feed? Ooh. So is there a particular team that comes to mind in terms of like a really good Instagram follow? I mean, at this point, every NBA team does a really good job with social media, but are there any particular teams or things you can remember that you'd be like, oh, that would be why I would follow this team?
Let's see. I do know Twitter more than Instagram because I don't necessarily follow a lot of individual teams on Instagram. I just follow the NBA account, but the NBA account does... Now, if you can invite collaborators to posts, they do a lot of that where I will see posts that are from the Warriors or the Celtics because it's them in the NBA. So sometimes I'll get some posts. I think the Kings are always a fun social media team, and especially with the Light the Beam, and now they are the #Beam team. I feel like the Kings are probably a really good follow. The Bucks are a good follow just because they post Giannis stuff, and Giannis is just so funny. I don't know if you saw the clip where he was talking about how God made him good at everything except for free throws because it would just be unfair.
Yes, I did see that.
We'll put a link to it, but he says something like, in his wonderful Greek accent, says, I'm tall, I'm athletic, I'm good at basketball, I'm good looking. He says good looking twice. I have a beautiful wife, beautiful kid, can't have it all. I'm just not good at free throws. That's okay. It's so
And
funny.
then he threw a ladder across the arena.
So I think the Bucks are a good follow. The Warriors do a solid job, I will say, because I definitely followed them when I lived in the Bay Area, and I think I might still, but they do a good job of posting just fun stuff, especially because Steph Curry does all that cool stuff pre-game with his wild half-court shots and all that kind of stuff. I think the Warriors usually have a really solid social media presence, but to me, coming to mind currently in terms of a fun follow right now is the Kings, just because Beam team is so good, and how can you not love it?
Yeah, I think that's a good answer. All right, well, I think that wraps up our NB Q&A. Thank you so much to everybody who sent in questions. As always, if you are a patron, you do get priority. So hopefully we got to all of the patron questions. I have seen some really interesting 3-on-3 suggestions coming in from our patrons. Know that even if we don't respond immediately, we are taking note of them. And thank you so much for the great ideas. And again, to anyone whose question was not answered, we are recording all of these. We are putting them in a very secret document somewhere to be answered at a later date, either on a live show or on another NB Q&A.
Yes, indeed. And we will continue to do the NB Q&A segment each episode where we pick a question. So we'll keep this going. It's been really fun. And I'm excited to answer more questions going forward into the new year. Whoa!
Ah!
Thanks for listening to this episode of Horse Horses, hosted by Adam Mamawala and Mike Schubert. Our editor for this episode is Mike Schubert. The social media is by both of the Horse Boys. The website is by Kelly Beckman Schubert. The art is by Allison Wakeman, and the music is by Bettina Campomanes.
Thank you to our producer-level patrons, Polly Burge, Kendra Hadley, Salvatore Testa, Trust the Process, Siobhan Ellsbury, He Sells Seashells, Don't Go Chasing Taco Falls, Bang, Bang, Long-Suffering Timberwolves fan, Roast Beef Debris, Kate the Conqueror, Basketball is Life 2, Mikhail Loves Allison, Denver Steamed Nuggets, Anna Borjali, Weird Questions, Curry in a Hurry for 3.
Spicy Bang. Oh, no, wait, just kidding. No. Wait. I've got a better one. Not Bang, but Penang.
Oh my God. The show's canceled. I quit. Lobster Biscuit, Hi Trish, Ginger Spursboy, Nicole Arsenault, Something Mean About the Knicks, Subby Boardman Gets Paid, and NBA Giraffe. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Horse Hoops and on Twitter at Horse_Hoops because
Horse Hoops got really mad when Zion did that cool dunk. And you know what? The people who are all stuffy about,
let me
clutch my pearls. Come on. Let people be fun. Dunks are fun. Bat flips are fun. Dunks are fun. People should be able to bat flip and dunk whenever they want.
I'm all in on bat flips. I'm all in on dunks. And not just wasting the last minute of the game dribbling into a turnover. I don't know when that started, and I don't like it at all.
The last 30 seconds of every game should just be a dunk contest, right?
100% agree. I don't know why it's not. Or just play a different sport. Just kick the ball around a little bit. Have some fun with it.
But yeah, like what if the people just like were like, oh, the game's had a reach. How about these two guys just do one-on-one for the final possession? Or like, let's have fun with the last 30 seconds of the game.
I'm into play Pictionary for all I care. Don't just waste my time standing there.
Oh, that'd be so good. Just, oh, what's he drawing? Is that a duck? Oh, it's a quail. Whoa.
Wait, he's gluing himself to the court. No. Anyway, go to our website, horsehoops.com, for links to a bunch of the fun stuff we talked about today, including but not limited to some Suga music videos.
I'll put it. Yeah, it's a good one. Dechita slaps. And if you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/horsehoops. You can get access to bonus writing, bonus audio, bonus video. You can make sure that your NBA Q&A questions are the most preferred. Lots of good stuff there. You can also go to horsehoops.com/merch to pick up a Sup Nerds It's Basketball shirt or replays of digital live shows we've done in the past. Adam and I will work to get another live show, whether digital or physical or both. We're going to make one of those happen in the new year as well. But we're going to close this episode out, as we always do, by saying something on the count of three. And we called it earlier. I think we just say fuck Karl Malone on three. What better way to close out 2022, baby?
Yeah, I mean, what better way to close out any episode? I think we will change it up from time to time, but for now, let's do it.
Yeah, it could just be our good if we really are stumped and we can't think of anything. The default can just be fuck Karl Malone on the count of three.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
Fuck Karl Malone.
Bad person. Just a bad person.
Truly. Yeah, just the worst, really.